Hello, everyone. This is part two of our fifth episode where we'll be talking about Sony's State of Play. If you haven't watched part one where we were discussing the Nintendo Direct, then go ahead and check it out.
When you compare that to what Sony did, which we'll talk about in God of War, and I think they had a couple other really interesting things. It just was not
Nintendo.
exciting.
PSVR
Yeah,
2.
they're really investing in that platform-specific VR department, which I thought was going to fold very quickly because I didn't think they would be able to get good dedicated developers for VR because VR already struggles to get good dedicated developers in general.
Yeah, Beat Saber can only push the genre or the platform so far.
Yeah, they really need something else that's not a rhythm game to be successful, and maybe
I
they'll
mean,
get it.
there are other VR games that people like, but I don't think any to the same extent, or more importantly, to the same mass appeal as Beat
Same
Saber, right? Like it's like Pavlov's VR, like people really like, and
mhm,
Boneworks, I think.
Boneworks has
Although
some
both of
good.
those require like, I doubt either of those would run on the PS4 Pro, even if they were ported there. I
Definitely
mean,
not the
maybe they'd
Oculus.
probably run on the PS4 Pro, and they'll definitely run on the PS5, obviously, right? But yeah, no, like, and they won't run well on the fucking Quest if they were to be there. So,
No.
I don't
And that's the most popular one. I think that's what people really struggled with is like the
know. And
Quest and
Sword
the
and
Quest
Blade.
2
Sword and
took
Blade is
off.
the other really popular one, I think.
That one is popular. Though I think that one's been made popular as people started to add a lot of really interesting mods. Because
Mods.
the game
Yeah, it's
itself is
mods.
very has the same appeal as most why Beat Saber, Boneworks, and the others are been successful is most VR games like are fun for anywhere from 2 to 5 hours and then you are just done with them forever. Like the gimmick is worn
It's
out.
yeah, it's super accurate. I got like a Humble Bundle VR thing at one point, and I was playing like Creed or something on it. I was like, oh, this is cool. Never gonna play this again.
Yeah.
Into the bin you go.
So it's kind of like
Was there
VR.
anything else interesting at the Nintendo Direct off the top of your head?
Yeah, that's we pretty much went through literally everything they announced. Yeah, we covered all the ones that I had written down.
Will say I remembered one thing after the fact, which I just thought was a kind of interesting, cool little note. So 007, sadly no online on Xbox and Game Pass, but I thought it was cool. They are retroactively putting this into Rare Replay, which I thought was a
I
very
did
cool
see
Oh,
thing
that.
to do. And
that's
they
interesting.
absolutely did not have to do that at
Yeah.
all. Which, for those who don't know, Rare Replay is a bundle of like, I don't know, somewhere between like 20 or 30 like really old Rare games. So like stuff like Battletoads, Banjo Kazooie, all this stuff. And like it's a pretty reasonable price if you want to buy it outright. And yeah, it's just a bundle of all those games, and they're retroactively putting 007 in there, and I think that's super duper cool of them. Like, absolutely
Yeah.
did not need to do that, but they
Rare
did,
seems like one of
and I
the
like that.
homey game companies in general. I've always respect like they don't seem to do a lot of the cash grabby stuff.
Connect Sports would disagree with you.
Oh really?
Or that I don't think that was so much Rare as Microsoft saying, "Hey, we need someone to make a Connect game. Rare, you haven't been doing anything recently. Go do this."
Mm.
Like, but yeah, no, they're working on like Everwild too right now, which looks pretty good. I think it's called Everwild. I can't remember. So yeah, the state of play from Sony, definitely some interesting things. God of War looks fantastic. Like honestly, it's almost not even worth talking about because it just looks as fantastic as everybody expected it to look like. So like,
I've
what's
got
there to
my hot
say?
take.
Your fantastic expectations were met. Like,
It's gonna have fantastic visuals. I think it's going to be. They've already indicated in so many ways they're gonna like try to go to more new and interesting diverse places, aesthetically diverse places, and more enemy
I
types
did
as a
notice that
consequence.
the environments seem to be different. Well, some of them seem to be different and very cool. And then one of the other things that like the two things that caught my mind were Fat. I'm assuming Thor because he had Mjolnir.
Hey, that's lore
Um,
accurate.
Have you not seen
yeah.
that one before? They already released
Uh,
his art. You know, it had Twitter blew
They
up
oh,
because of
interesting.
that.
did,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But
I had not seen it, but no, he looked great. Obviously, the dialogue seemed good. And what was the other thing to note? Oh yeah, there's the clip of two Valkyries at the same time.
oh,
Oh,
I so much PTSD. I was like, oh, you can't be throwing 2. I was getting upset. I was like, that's just not cool. Like, I'm
I
gonna
mean, to be
have to
fair,
do it.
wasn't there already a fight in the first game where I swear there's more than one, or maybe there's like a main one and then like 2 side ones that like weren't as whatever. I don't know. I swear
I
like
don't
vaguely
remember
Yeah,
there
you
remember
only
that
ever
being
there was
one v
multiple
one.
at once. There was like obviously the last one you fight that was super tough. That's as far
You
as
all
I
beat it?
got with. I didn't beat her. I
I
came
didn't beat
close a
her.
couple times, but I did
I
not
didn't even
beat
get
her.
close. I got so
She was
so annoyed,
tough.
dude. The reaction times you have to fight
Yeah,
her were so hard, and I was
it's
abusing the
crazy.
invulnerability frames of like the shield bash by the end. I don't. I can't imagine what a 2v1 with them would look like, especially because it was out of the. Wow, they showed it. It was like I think it was out of the spear charge that I hated, and then out of that they wombo comboed you, and I was like, cool. That move is more punishing now if you screw up the timing. Excellent. I don't know. It of course would be excellent. What I took away from that trailer is I think the gameplay they're going to add some new elements and they'll continue to build off. They showed off like you're going to have the chain grapple, and it looks like there's more hand to hands involved in being able to combo. Though of course everyone's just going to mash light attack, but there will at least be that option. Hopefully this time it'll be a little more intuitive to use. Um, and then, but spectacle will be better, gameplay will be better. I think the story's going to be worse. I really didn't like how Atreus sounded. And I just get
Yeah,
the
I mean,
feeling
I'm
like
assuming did the voice actor just hit puberty? Like, I mean,
it's almost assuredly just a new one because he's just totally
oh,
different.
you think so?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know for
Okay.
sure, but I would not be surprised based on how different the voice is.
I bet this is on IMDb, to be honest. I mean,
I have no doubt.
Teal'c from Star Trek, who Christopher Judge is almost assuredly still, oh God, I can't even think of it, Kratos.
Kratos, yeah, he
So
is
yeah,
because he's
that's
exactly the same.
oh yeah, no, I love Christopher Judge. And to be fair, I love Christopher Judge because I love Stargate. I said Star Trek. Ooh, Stargate. And yeah, he's fantastic.
It's just kind of where do
Um,
you go with the first game's story outside of everything involving the Norse gods was so complete, like how their relationship developed and how it kind of culminate like they finished their journey with their his wife Atreus' mom, and it's kind of like they're gonna have to build a whole new narrative from scratch, and I think they have a way shorter timeline now, whereas last time development took like 5 years, and it seemed like they had a lot of time to hand sculpt like their dialogue in every single little quest, every little area you were was just so good, and I feel like it's going to be worse.
I think.
Atreus is the same voice actor, by the way.
It
Ooh,
is.
Yeah.
interesting.
So I mean, he literally just said, I mean, he just had puberty. I mean, that's
Yes, so he
like
sounds. I do not like how he sounds.
I, I hope Sonny Soljic doesn't listen to this and take offense to that. You know, you just
But he should.
insulted.
I love this game, dude. Don't. If you're listening, please be better than this. I the original God of War game is legitimately could be my favorite game of all time. I loved it so much. Favorite single player game of all time.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like I'm obviously gonna play and love the second one. I have no doubt. Um, but I want it to be even better. I want it to be a truly, especially since they're not making a third one. Like I want this to be the culminating experience
Oh,
that
have they
pushes.
officially said that? Have they
They have
officially said
officially
there's
said
no?
that. This is not the end
Interesting.
of the God of War series, of course. Like
Yeah,
that cash cow is not milked
they got to milk
nearly
it for
enough.
days. I mean, no,
Um,
they're gonna make a God of War Souls-like. Like
they're
it's
gonna
gonna
do what
happen.
Assassin's Creed does. They're just gonna
Maybe, yeah.
switch. They're gonna switch pantheon. That's what they've said. Is they're like we're done with the Norse pantheon after this one.
I
Okay,
mean, the
okay,
first
yeah,
game
yeah.
teased that anyway, so.
I just thought that would develop over 3, right? Like we
Oh yeah, me
knew
too. Yeah.
we know that Kratos' story does not continue after this, right? Like we're going to pivot over to Atreus, um, slash Loki, but we will hope that isn't a spoiler for anybody. We will but it's kind of where do we go after this? Because I'm sure they will wrap up all of the story that's going on here
hmm
in the typical God of War way, where I'm sure a lot of gods are about to
So
die.
everybody dies.
Yeah,
It's called Ragnarok.
yeah, exactly.
That's
Like
literally the
a
point.
Yeah.
lot of people are gonna die, and then it's kind of where do they go? Maybe Kratos survives. Who knows? It's hard to see the series without Kratos, but I
Yeah.
do think they'll probably push it forward with Atreus. Um, But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Or maybe they end the series.
That's no.
Incredibly unlikely based on how commercially successful it's been, but maybe they
Question.
redo it.
Since you guys, or at least Packy, you watched the trailer for sure. Are they keeping the one-shot cinematic style? Could you tell? Because
They
I
haven't
loved
said
that.
that.
I
It
love
certainly
things
seems
that
like
do
it.
that. Like, I know it's kind of gimmicky now, but like I still love anything that does the one shot. Like 1917, the movie, so good, so good.
Oh, that's on
So,
another level. I guess
oh,
both of them are really pioneering that.
oh yeah, they're fantastic. I was just
I,
curious. I haven't watched it yet. I'll watch it at some
I
point.
don't
But
think they certainly don't say in the trailer. I bet that's something people I'm sure have asked the game director. So
probably, yeah,
I
I'm
could
sure
probably
it's
give it a
out there
Google.
somewhere.
But I hope they do. I mean, I think though obviously they had like some ways, like the fast travel obviously had some ways of
Yeah, yeah,
masking load
of
times, but
course.
no, I absolutely love the way that they did it too, especially how seamless from, as everybody remembers, right from when you start the game, how seamless it is and kind of shifting from what are clearly menus and stuff like that
Hmm.
and cutscenes into
Yeah,
actual gameplay.
agreed
I'm
completely.
sure I would hope they'll try and keep that. I know they've talked about how that was really, really difficult from a
Yeah.
mocap perspective. Like they had to reshoot it like a million, like each
God.
transition a million times to
Yeah,
account for all the different like
sure.
slight adjustments of starting position.
Do you know? So it's really common these days for the voice actor to also be the one doing the mocap. Obviously,
Hmm.
do you know? I'm assuming Christopher Judge probably did the mocap for
The
Kratos, and
entire cast did.
the entire cast did their own mocap. See,
Yes.
that's awesome. Like, I think people obviously a lot of times don't
In the first
necessarily
one.
give
Can't speak
voice
for the second one.
actors. Yeah, that's fair. Like I think people don't give enough credit to voice actors sometimes. Like, and people are gonna be like, no, everyone gives credit to voice actors. But no, I think they're doing a lot more, especially these days. They're doing a lot more than I think people realize, like particularly with the mocap stuff. Like it's if you watch some of those behind the scenes, like it's really intense. Like both movement that they're doing while wearing, the getup, obviously, while obviously doing the actual acting part, right? So no, it's very impressive. Always, I always really I've grown to appreciate the past couple of years, especially like the work that they put into making these games for sure.
I mean, like God of War had the gravitas of like a dramatic movie, but you have to remember that they had to shoot it all in mocap, so you have to like get those human emotions across using motion capture and digital animation. Um, and you have to shoot it so much longer than like a traditional movie or even like the total time of a television show. Like there's
Hmm.
got to be 10
Yeah.
hours worth of cutscenes and dialogue and stuff like that crammed into God of War. And
Well, yeah, and then
uh,
they frequently like will record mocap for not even just the cutscenes, right? But like just the animations, right? Like the
oh
swinging
yeah,
the axe or whatever else, right? Like they're gonna record the mocap for that. So yeah, no, there's a lot that goes into it.
they put
Was there anything
massive.
else God of War related that stuck out to you in this trailer?
Nah, the jellyfish was cool.
The jellyfish was cool.
That's what made
Like
me
like I
think
said,
like they'll
the,
have
the
more
different
spectacle.
environments and obviously like Atreus shooting the bow. Was I to interpret that as Atreus has the power of the Bifrost essentially? Like I didn't know how to interpret that. Right,
Yeah,
like he shoots a bow and then the world changes, right? Like
mhm. I'm sure, and they showed that in you kind of, that's building off of the first game in just a really big way, right? They imbued his bow several times with different powers.
yeah,
So I'm sure we're
yeah.
just going to continue doing that. And I actually bet they'll probably do a little bit, I mean, they'll probably do the little bit of what Rift Apart did. They'll
Oh
shoot
yeah,
portals and it seamlessly
that
transition
would be
between the two
cool.
because
So
of the
that's
power of the
that's
Yeah.
heart.
interesting because something of note of Ragnarok is on the PS4. And Rift Apart was not, I believe, obviously,
It
right?
was not.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
PS5.
So, which I'm curious while we're on it, like, what are your all's thoughts on it being on the PS4?
Boo. Because I had the luck and money to get a PS5. If I had a PS4, I'd be
I was gonna
very
say
happy.
because I have I mean, not in this case, but because I have the privilege to have a Series X, yes, my emotion towards this is, yeah, they should have just gone pure PS5. But who knows? I mean, obviously, like, Sony's going to give Santa Monica Studios the time they need to make the game what it needs to be, right? And so, like, obviously, and then there's the whole like this generation of consoles are the most like PC that they've ever been. So, like theoretically it should be, easier for them to do that sort of scaling type stuff that they need to do to support both platforms. But yeah, no,
I
selfishly I'd still just say go PS5 only, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but I will say that what Rockstar's able to do with Red Dead 2 on the previous gen consoles and what Naughty Dog was able to do with Last of Us 2 on the previous gen consoles, between
Very
those
true,
two
yeah.
games, the two, in my opinion, best looking games in terms of detail and like visual everything. And the fact that Red Dead 2 is open world and is as detailed and rich and gorgeous as it is, I think Santa Monica could do it, with
Oh,
God
I'm
of
sure they
War.
can, yeah.
I definitely think like maybe they should have gone ahead and just done, the 5, but I know they can do it with the technology they have. So
Can we
Yeah.
take a
Well,
break from
and
gaming news to bash Grand Theft Auto Online and how it's ruined the opportunity for Rockstar to make and be motivated to make more games that
yeah,
are so incredibly good
it
looking?
do you
makes
not
me
count
so
the
sad.
Grand Theft Auto trilogy remaster as a new game,
Fucking
Packy?
hate it. I was
Do
just
you?
reminded of this because I saw this on Reddit today because I, never even had the notion to play Grand Theft Auto Online, and it got to the top of Reddit of someone stealing a car, and they're like, "Why can't I put this in my
Oh
garage and
yeah, I
online?"
saw
And it's
that.
like, "Oh, you can't steal cars that are too nice because they want you to pay for them."
Yeah, they have trackers built into them, and so you can't keep them. Yes, I've played maybe like 20 to 30 hours of online over the course of since its release, and yeah, it's there's some really cool things in there, but they are buried so deep behind in-game currency barriers that it's not worth the time.
That's a
Yeah.
shame. You
It
can't
Yeah.
argue it prints them money. They
No,
make
yeah, of
so much.
course. I hate it, but it's good for them.
Yeah.
The last thought on games still supporting the last generation of consoles is I feel like it bugs me that Halo Infinite runs on Xbox One and Xbox One X, but I can at least appreciate the fact that that's a multiplayer game, and so the bigger player base you have, the better matchmaking is going to
Hmm.
be, and the more playlists they can support. Whereas something like God of War, where it's just this like pure single player cinematic experience, I feel like it. I don't know. I would have wanted it to them only solely to focus on the current generation of consoles, is my opinion. But
I think we just have to
at the
remember.
same time, I'm very glad that people who cannot afford or still cannot find a PS5 are going to be able to play this game,
True.
because this game looks fantastic
Yeah.
and everybody should get to play. Like when everybody plays, we all win. I don't even know whose slogan that is anymore, but just good slogan.
Yeah, I think this is the tail end of the what the pandemic caused. This was always going to be a generation where like making for both platforms was even easier than it's ever been, like far easier than it's ever been before. So people were going to do it more anyway, and then you add in the console shortage and many games that started their development assuming they were going to release more or less like a few months after the consoles came out and then getting massively delayed as a result of the pandemic. Like I think this is just kind of the tail end. I think consumers certainly didn't want it to last this long, but I bet gaming companies didn't expect to be supporting both platforms as long as they have.
No, I'm sure they didn't.
Yeah, I would believe that. I would expect most would have been planning to be done by now for sure.
Hmm.
Um, going back to the Halo Infinite, just because that's top of mind right now with the Bonnie Ross leaving and the Yappening event and everything. Um, yeah, I feel like exactly what you said. They expected these games to come out, much earlier than they did. Like, I mean, obviously Halo Infinite got delayed, but even without the delay, right? Like, it was very clear that like, or from what I remember, they were initially designing the Slip Space engine or whatever specifically for Xbox One, right? Like, I don't think they were doing it for Series X at the time. Like when it started, right? When the development on that started, is I think they really were starting for Xbox One, and so it's yeah, people didn't expect necessarily these things to get delayed as far as they are, but now that we're at the point we're at, it's kind of like why are you supporting these like 8 year old pieces of hardware? Actually, they're more than 8 years old at this point, aren't they? Right? Like
Oh,
It's
yeah.
ridiculous. Which I wonder if I think on Xbox it is impossible to release a game for only the One X, right? Like I think if you want to support the One X, you have to support the Xbox One, which is ridiculous. And I think the same is true for PS4 Pro and PS4. I don't think you can support PS4 Pro without supporting PS4. And that's the other thing that makes this kind of ridiculous, right? Is like these developers can't even like just support the, like 4 or 5 year old piece of hardware. They have to, support this like 8, 9 year old piece of hardware, which is just kind of crazy. So that being said, people have PCs that are 8, 9 years old and want to play these games too. So yeah, like I said, when everybody plays, we all win. So I guess it's overall a good thing, even though I selfishly would like it to only be current gen.
You want Crisis games. You want a game where it was never optimized even a little bit, and we assume you have the best hardware.
I want it to still be optimized. No, and that's actually a good point, is that them having to support these old pieces of hardware means that they are like, optimizing these games probably maybe more than they would have. That being said, I mean, like, this is their flagship title, and they were gonna get every little bit of, graphical fidelity and high FPS smoothness and all of that they were gonna get anyways, right? Like even without, having to support the old gen consoles. So, anything else that stuck out to you guys from the Sony State of Play? There were two other things that stuck out to me. One is they are doing this collectibles thing, like PlayStation Stars, and you can get like collectibles, and it's just kind of interesting. And the thing I'm looking at right now is comparing it to NFTs. And well, they're explicitly saying no. So this is the interesting thing, is they're explicitly saying like they're not NFTs, right? But like they are a collectible, like they're a digital collectible, right? And so it's like an excellent example of like
Making that comparison is just suicide. Like they weren't going to
no,
avoid it.
No. And like it wasn't even like I don't know. It probably is bad. To be fair, the comparison was literally, and don't worry, they're not NFTs, right? But
So
still, I mean, like.
But they're similar enough where we need to tell you that.
Exactly.
It's always dangerous.
And I think this is an excellent point where like, so personally, like I mean, like I don't really care if people build a game around NFTs or whatever. But I will say like this, Sony doing this like collectible thing with like PlayStation Stars or whatever is like an excellent example of like NFTs are a solution to a problem, and you can solve the problem without it. like Steam has the marketplace, and they have had the marketplace for a very long time, where you can buy and sell items and Valve gets a cut of the transactions, right? Like you can build the things that you can build with the blockchain and NFTs without a blockchain and NFTs, right? And so like I'm not opposed to them, but the thing is like, they're literally like, it's just people are doing it like they're solving a problem, and the problem is a good problem to solve, right? Like I want to own, quote unquote, a digital good, and I want to be able to sell it as a result of that. And like that's a good problem to solve. I appreciate that, particularly in like gaming. Yeah, like it'd be cool to sell a hat in TF2 or skin in League of Legends or whatever, right? But like, no, you don't need the blockchain to do that. You could just do it with the standard database. It's not that hard. I don't want to say it's not that hard. I'm sure Valve put a lot of work into their marketplace, obviously, right? But
I did just think because of that reason, it's weird. NFTs outside of gaming make sense because it's like I made my unique little piece of art and I want to sell it and continue to get royalties off it as other people buy and resell it. Sure. Still dumb, but sure. In gaming, it's like,
then I would, that's a little bit of a stretch, because the whole like, really, you're not buying the art piece, like you're buying a receipt to the fake art piece and blah blah blah, right? But yeah, continue.
There can be some like, I think there's unique ones where it's like I'm not generating art outside of that, but you don't really own. Again, copy paste still works. But
I was gonna say copy paste still works there, whereas like in games, for example, right? Like when you're running the game on a console or something, like they're gonna check that license, and you literally can't use that skin or whatever it is without that license. And again, like it's literally a license, right? Like it's all a fucking NFT is. It's a goddamn digital license, right? Like licenses have been a thing for forever.
Yeah, but definitely it was weird to make it the actual tokens as opposed to I'm gonna sell your license to that particular cosmetic in this game. Like I have that license and I'm gonna sell it to you on the marketplace, and the company's gonna get their cut, and they already got whatever they got for me to get it in the first place. So the companies win way more there than as opposed to with like NFTs, and the distinction between them is pretty negligible when you're actually gauging in that marketplace.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought the collectible thing was kind of cool, mainly because like I don't hunt achievements, but I still like achievements, and like it kind of seems like it's not like I don't know. I should read more about it. It seems like semi-related, right? Like they're supposed to be collectibles, right? Something to show off or whatever. And I find that fun. I find that cool. And I couldn't tell if you could trade them or whatever like NFTs,
I'm sure you'll
whatever
be
else.
able to at some point. Seems like they're
Yeah, I mean
clearly
I
going.
wouldn't be surprised.
It seems like they're,
So I thought,
as you mentioned, like they're just trying to copy what Steam does. That's the biggest impression that I got.
to be fair, like I am all aboard, like like if we're gonna talk about NFT, sure, why not? Like if
I
someone were to do this, like I would want it to be a reputable brand, in this case Sony, that builds the marketplace, right? Like I don't want to go to some like crappy, crummy, terrible site that like screams of like I'm gonna click something and get a virus on my computer or whatever, right? Like that's like AMC gave me an NFT and that's literally what it looked like, right? Like it was awful. Like, I never want to do that, right? But yeah, no, like if Sony's building a marketplace or if Microsoft's building a marketplace, like I'm all on board with like the digital games marketplace type thing. Like I think that's perfectly fine and that'd be cool. Um, anyways, let's not. I hate NFTs.
yeah, their time in the sun is long since passed. I will say the other thing that looked really good. I'm not excited for it immediately. I'm excited for it in about 3 to 4 years. Is Tekken 8. It
I
graphically looks really really good, which is part of
Fighting
the
games tend to look really good. Well, so let me watch this trailer while you talk
not
because
always like Street Fighter 5 when it came out.
so
Didn't like the
cinematics always look really good. And I mean that's why I'm gonna watch this because
that
I'm
was the
curious if it's
problem with
gameplay
this.
or cinematic. Yeah,
There
it's
you'll
cinematic,
see it.
isn't it?
It's layered together. There's clearly parts where they're trying to emulate
Ah,
gameplay, but it also switches in and out of cinematics to the point where you're not sure if they're kind of doing a Mortal Kombat style or it's truly just
yeah,
like, hey,
the
we're
finisher.
emulating
Yeah.
gameplay. Yeah. So it seemed like at different points they were, and it seemed like they might go that route and make Tekken a little more cinematic. But
Well,
we'll
I
have
mean,
to
okay,
see.
I'm watching it. It really, yeah, no, you're right. It looks phenomenal.
Yeah, it looks
Visually,
really,
graphically, right?
really good. It actually, parts of it, the aesthetic weirdly remind me of another game that went hyper realistic that also looked good, but just was a little floaty. Oh, it's on Game Pass. It's the one that all the like animes are all a part of this fighter. Oh, God, it's the Shonen one, Shonen Jump one. God damn it.
I can't think of it.
I should
Game
know
Pass
this.
does
I
have a lot of
played it.
fighters though.
Jump Force, thank you. Um, Jump Force, which is briefly on Game Pass. Very, very, very good looking game, especially impressive with their particle stuff. And clearly Tekken borrowed a little bit from that, but they went way more hyper realistic in their animation style, and in general, it just looks much more modern and better. Um, I'm sure it'll be very good. I can't wait 3, 4 years from now when it comes to Game Pass and you and I play it for like a week. It'll be very, very fun.
Yeah, no, it'll be fun when it comes to Game Pass because, like, to be fair, actually, like, if they were to announce a new Soul Calibur game, we played enough of that. I would probably consider buying it.
I
Like,
would too. I really liked it, and I would also love to
yeah,
play it when like it's still. I love fighting games right when they first come out. We've been running into this with multiverses. Like I
uh,
love first starting out with games. Everybody is a button mashing idiot, and you all just run into each other and whack each other. It's really really fun. You learn a bunch of new characters, all that stuff. It's not until it's been in people's hands for a while and you really start to see it's either like you're new and starting the game or you're a sweat lord, and like there's not much the middle ground that you and I live in.
yeah. Uh, I agree. The beginning of to be fair, the beginning of almost every online game is obviously the best part of it.
Sure.
But fighting games in particular, I feel like that's very true there. But yeah, no, like you're right. The Tekken 8 does look really good. Obviously, hopefully the end product looks as good as that does. And yeah, no, now I kind of just want a new Soul Calibur. Like I want a new Soul Calibur now.
That one, I think they've been waiting even longer than
They have,
Tekken 7 and
yeah,
Tekken 8.
it's been a very long time, I think. But so the only other thing that like super stuck out to me, and there was other good stuff, I think, but like none that I was super excited for personally. But PSVR 2 they showed more of it, I think, than they obviously had ever in the past. And like specifically like it's getting like a Star Wars game, which like
Yep,
apparently Star Wars is like the go-to like VR IP to get. To be fair,
it is.
Star Wars is like the go-to IP to get
The
because like
most
Quest.
popular Quest one is the Darth Vader game. The
That's
different
what I was
parts
saying.
of the
Well,
Darth
to
Vader
be
game.
fair, they literally gave it away at some point.
Yeah.
Like there was a point in time where if you bought a Quest, you got the entire Vader trilogy on Quest for free. To be fair, I mean like those were perfectly fine games. Actually, I going back to what you were saying earlier, I feel like the sweet spot for a VR game is actually yeah the Vader ones on Quest because they were really short. They were like 2 to 3. They weren't even 2 to 3 hours. I think they were like 1 to 2 hours per game. There were three of them, and they were like relatively reasonably priced. I think they were still maybe a little too expensive, but honestly, yeah, like because of that phenomenon we talked about, where like you play it, and then you're like, okay, this is cool. I'm gonna put this down and never play it again, with the exception of like Beat Saber. That makes me feel like yeah, these like short I guess narrative, right? Which actually, I mean, it is the Vader ones on Quest definitely were narrative. But yeah, like these short, like I'm gonna call them experiences, right? Because that's
I
what
think
VR is.
experience
VR,
is the right one.
yeah, yeah, and that's the entirety of VR is just this is an experience, right?
Yeah.
Like this short, like 1 to 3 hours, and like priced as such. I feel like, in my opinion, that's the sweet spot. Like I find it very hard to which I haven't tried it, but like I mean Skyrim VR exists and I don't think that would be enjoyable to me. Like I think that would be pretty rough personally. I mean, James, you have a Quest too. You love Bethesda. I have you played Skyrim VR?
Not played it. I have not played a lot of VR games.
It's the Beat Saber. It's the Beat Saber
I was gonna say
machine. I
we
mean,
played Beat Saber. I
it's
played some of the Vader. I think that was about it. We did some of the like built-in, real cheap horror game like experience, not even games, experiences where you're just like sitting in one spot and
yeah, no
horror happens
experiences.
around
Yeah.
you. They're good, but like yeah, we haven't played a ton of it. We also haven't gotten it out since we moved though. So if whenever we get it set back up, I might. But
Yeah, no, PSVR 2 looks pretty appealing, mainly because like the first one was so for the long time, right? Like the struggle with VR was always cost, right? Like you had the headsets themselves were like $400 to $600, and then on top of that you had to have a pretty modern computer, which would have been
Mhm.
like probably at least $600, right? Like at least
Way more
um
to run these
to,
VR
to
games.
oh yeah,
You
It's
probably
fair,
have to have
yeah.
like $1,000, $1,500 rig
Heck,
to
you
run
are
these
so
games.
quiet right now.
I think I'm just talking quietly.
I'm not even sure it's that. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully it gets louder. Yeah, no, like historically it's been cost has been the problem, right? And then the Quest comes out and the Quest is reasonably priced and it's completely portable. You don't need anything else and it plays reasonably well. And then Quest 2 obviously just improves upon the Quest 1, very like good incremental upgrade to it. And like it's super reasonably priced. I think it's like $300 for like a Quest 2. Which is like cheaper than the old headsets used to be just by themselves. And it's, got the whole computer in it, right? And then PSVR was similar in that, like, yeah, you needed the PlayStation, but like the accessory was relatively affordably priced. And like the PlayStation is something that like is already more common than a computer to have about. And so like PSVR was very nice, and then like I felt like it was a good, like relatively accessible entry point into virtual reality. And they had some like pretty good games. Right? I mean, they had like Resident Evil 7 VR, I think, on
Mhm.
PSVR 1. And so like I'm very excited to see. I mean, they have Beat Saber on PSVR 1 too. You can't add custom songs there. But yeah, no, so
Because
I'm very excited personally for PSVR 2. I probably won't get it because I have a Quest 2. And I have a laptop that, can play, VR games at relative, high quality, not like super high quality, but like good enough to the point where like if and when I get a PS5, I'm not going to get a PSVR 2 with it, but like it still excites me because it's pushing that medium forward in I think a really good way.
That I agree with. I think that VR is the future. It's a distant future, but like it needs to become a big part of gaming because so much of regular gaming on our PC and console platforms that we're used to is, I think really the innovation has stagnated a lot, and I think they need new dynamic technologies to continue to innovate. I think VR is going to inspire a lot of stuff once people really start to get into it. But
Yeah.
we'll see. I think PSVR is going to be held back. Actually, the biggest thing I think is going to be mods and the fact that it's not going to have mod support. And I think, like you mentioned the Beat Saber part, and
You
we were
never
talking about
know.
Mountain Blade. No,
You never know.
Sony doesn't allow
Why
mod.
not? Wait, do
PlayStation
they
doesn't.
not?
I don't think they support it in a standardized way, unlike Microsoft. Like Microsoft does some little things to support it. I don't think Sony does anything at all.
Yeah, they've been making pushes on PC to support it better, but even on console, obviously, like James, you were talking about, you've got a fair number of mods on Fallout 4, I think, on
Yeah.
console, right?
Mm-hmm. I do.
So I don't think it's tricky, right? Like Mountain Blade is easier than like supporting mods for Mountain Blade on PSVR 2 is a lot easier than supporting mods for Beat Saber, because the mods for Beat Saber that people care about are for the most part the custom song browser and player, right? Like and Mountain Blade is just like, I want a different skin on this baddie or whatever, right? Like, or a different environment. And so I feel like
Well, they've
that's a
added
lot
new
easier.
mechanics too. People added and
Interesting. I didn't
expanded
know
on
that.
it. Yeah, I mean that's what how modding keeps these games alive is people really. I mean the Fallout, all the Bethesda games are great examples of this, where people have just added tons of new content to these games just because they love them so
Yeah,
much. They
for sure.
copy the formats and reuse it. Modders are so genius for nothing. They just throw away their incredible time and talents to give people these free mods that are really, really great. And I think, as you were mentioning, like what keeps Beat Saber alive is that people keep adding their own. They add paid songs, but the paid songs are very, very high priced. What keeps people drawn in is the free ones that people add in huge mass through the mod community. Like there's hundreds, if not thousands, of Beat Saber like
I know
tracks that people have
it's
handmade.
massive. Yeah, it's definitely massive. I mean, like every music game has this phenomenon for the most part, right? Like every single music game has huge like community mapped tracks for whatever game it is, which is really cool.
That's what keeps people
Uh,
playing. I think that's what'll sink PSVR. But again, I agree so much with your point. Like I'm excited about it, not because I will necessarily play it, but because it will push that medium forward. And I think that's important.
Yeah, I mean, you have a Quest 2 and never play it.
It was funny. James brought up like he hasn't played it since he moved. The first time I played it in a long time is when I moved because I had a better playing space for it. So I played it a couple
that's
times.
true. That's a good point.
I finally had a little bit of room. I was like, all right, I'll bust it out again. Barely played it, have not bought a new game on it or anything like that. The original Quest is really hampered by the technology they use. They don't have nearly as many games as even the
Oh wait,
Quest
I
2.
thought you had a Quest 2. Do you not have a Quest
I have
1?
the original.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I
Yeah.
think we have a Quest too. I can't remember though.
Quest 2 is the better of the two because it actually,
Yeah.
It's definitely, yeah.
at its core, it's a very basic PC OS, whereas the Quest causes all these issues because it's actually an Android OS. Like it's.
No, I think Quest 2 is still Android.
Is it really?
I think so, yeah.
That sucks. That is not a smart decision, but that is okay.
Yeah.
Just makes it really hard to port all the other games over. Like the Quest is missing a lot of different pretty standard VR games. You have to special make them for the Quest.
Yeah, well, so I mean, you can do. Have either of you tried? I don't know what they call it. I want to call it AirPlay, but that's what Apple
Virtual
calls.
desktop.
Yeah, but Oculus / Meta built their own version of that. That you no longer need to sideload anything.
Because that's I
You
did
can just
sideloading
do.
and was really unhappy with it.
Yeah, the sideloading is kind of a pain. You had to like become a quote unquote developer and do all this crap, and it was really annoying. But yeah, no, it has native. I think they maybe call it AirLink. I'm gonna look this up. But yeah, no, like it has the native support. Obviously, you haven't done it, Paggy. Have you done it, James?
No. We've not like messed with anything, I'm gonna be honest.
It is
I would-
called Oculus Airlink, is what it's called.
That is very, very interesting. I would actually do that.
You might actually have a Rift. I can't remember. I'm looking at pictures
Yeah,
trying to
no,
remember.
Like I
Well,
was
is yours,
saying,
do you have to hook yours up to your computer? Because the Quest is the only one that you don't have to plug
Oh,
into your computer or
okay.
anything.
Okay, cool. Then no, we don't have to hook it up. So I guess it is a Quest or a Quest 2.
Yeah. I supposedly
Cool.
I thought it was like night and day because I thought that Quest 2 they finally improved it to put it on PC, but it sounds like Quest 2 is just really it seems like they're very similar. Quest 2 is just the new one.
Tells you
I
how
think it's
much
just a slightly
I've used it.
nicer everything, right? Yeah, no, I mean, Airlink is. I think that's how I played. Oh fuck, what's it called? Oh yeah, I was talking earlier. I was saying I played Creed, right? I got Creed in
Mhm.
the Humble Bundle, and all
Mhm.
the Humble Bundle was obviously Steam games, right? And yeah, no, that's that's why it's really nice, right? Because you can buy VR games on Steam, play them on your computer, but still stream them wirelessly to your Quest,
Hmm.
which is kind of, I mean, you have a little bit of lag, right? But it's not, like playing something like Beat Saber is possible, but maybe not the best experience. And then like playing something like Audica, where the timing matters even more than it does in Beat Saber, like that's kind of rough,
Mhm.
right? But for something else, like just punching a dude in the face in Creed, like yeah, you can do that. Like you can definitely do that.
It's got its place for sure.
So I think we've covered. I mean, is there anything else from the Sony State of Play that like we didn't talk about that stuck out to you guys?
Two others that I had down were Rise of the Ronin, which is a new IP, which is cool.
Seems like it'll be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you played? I know they made Neo, but I've not played that game. Have you
I
played that?
played Neo a little bit, maybe like 10 hours. Didn't get super far because I'm really bad at Souls-likes, except for Elden Ring. But I really enjoyed it. Like it was really cool.
Combat seems very fun. It just seems like a brutally punishing game.
It's hard. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
bad at them already, but it was pretty hard.
I heard that
But
about
it was
Neo
cool.
2 specifically.
Oh yeah, Neo 2 apparently is really hard.
I will never be. So we'll see. I'm the exact same way. Like I would never even try the Neo games. I don't try much of the Dark Souls games because I know that intense difficulty will just frustrate me. But it seems
That's why I
like
love
Rise of
Elden
the
Ring. It's the least head bashing into a wall of all of them because you can just go explore somewhere else. I love Elden Ring, and I love all the other ones. I'm just terrible at them. But Elden Ring's the only one that I've gotten to the last boss of all the FromSoft games. Not beat it yet
Oh, wow,
because the
nice.
last boss is bullshit. But
Dude,
I'm
I've
there.
seen it. It looks
It's
so frustrating.
It's not even hard. It's not even hard. It's just stupid. It's the worst boss in the fucking game, and I'm gonna rant about it for 30 minutes.
People were saying
Well, don't
it's,
do that because we're already at an hour.
I know, and I want to talk about Assassin's Creed.
Oh my god, we haven't talked. Yeah. Rise of the Ronin new by the Neo people, and then Inshin was just
Say-
Yakuza with swords, which looks good, but I
Well, a
haven't
lot of
played
the
games.
Yakuza, like Eastern released only, like Japan exclusive games are getting ported over finally. Which, like, I have no interest in that series, but like that's really cool for fans of that franchise that they're finally bringing like a bunch of stuff over. Like that's awesome for Western fans.
I think they've started to figure that out a bit. I mean, I don't know what it is about certain games they port late. I guess it's just they wait for Western audiences to show a deep interest, and then
Yeah,
they'll be
it's
like,
just
all right,
if
now
there's
it's
not the
time.
market, then why put the effort in, right?
True, because there's definitely some Japan games that do not translate to here well at all.
Yeah, for sure. It's just the audience too. Is like, because I'm
Yeah.
sure, I don't know for sure, but I can imagine that the localization efforts are not cheap. Obviously, translating a completely different language in terms of text and characters and like actual language, and then the licensing or whatever you need to get things onto like the Xbox, for example, through Microsoft. Like just doing that effort. Is probably just like a big challenge if they do. Like obviously these are PlayStation because they were for the Sony State of Play, but anything like that in general. I know Game Pass has a lot of the Yakuza games right now on it.
I
So
think they have literally every single one.
I
have
think it
rights to
does
all
all
of them.
the Western ones. Yeah.
They have rights to them, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they
Yeah.
keep them all on Game Pass at the same time. They might cycle them. Because I know I
don't
saw
know.
one of them left Game Pass. I know Zero, I think, left.
So was that all from the State of Play? And is it Ubisoft time?
Yeah, let's talk about Ubisoft.
Thanks for listening to part 2. I hope you check out part 3 where we talk about the Ubisoft event.